Riot is making big changes to the VCT for 2026. With the partnership contracts ending in 2027, there is going to be massive change to how the entire league works. So what Riot decided was that in 2026, they were going to test some of these changes out that they're thinking of. So they released a video a couple weeks back before the Grand Finals of Champions to talk about how this new format's going to work. So I'm going to watch the video in its entirety and give my opinion on what these changes are going to be. Talk about if it's good for the VCT, if it's bad, what's gonna stay for 2027, all that and more. While I am a bit late to this subject, never too late to talk about this kind of stuff. So here we go.
As we spoke last June, we're planning big changes to the VCT in 2027. We're building the next era of the sport, a VCT that's more open, with more events and more variety of competition. We are very excited. So much that we're not going to wait until 2027, and we'll start introducing these changes next year.
So one thing I just want to talk about from that first section, well, it's just the introduction. I do want to say that I'm curious to see what more events means. Obviously, people love the international tournaments, the Masters and Champions, and I love them too. They are the best time of the VCT season. But honestly, I don't really have a problem with there being 3 international tournaments a year. I think it's a fine number. It means that we get plenty of in-region play while also having these international tournaments. Personally, I think 3 is a good number, so if they end up increasing the amount of international tournaments, that is something I'm going to be a little bit concerned about, because the year might feel a little more compact, a little more like super busy, and burnout can obviously be a thing. So if they add like a 3rd Masters, I mean, that could be interesting, but I don't know. We'll see what they end up doing with that, but that's not in this video.
Santiago, Chile will host the first Masters of the year, taking us to LATAM for the very first time, and our first time to South America since lock-in. London, England will also host a global event for the first time ever, bringing us back to Europe for the 2nd Masters of the year. And to cap it all off, we're heading to Shanghai for Champions.
All right, so I want to talk about these locations a little bit. So Masters Santiago, the first tournament of the year that will be taking place from February to March. Probably going to be a very good location. I haven't personally been to Santiago or Chile, but LATAM definitely needs its own tournament, so glad to see that they're finally getting one. Showing some love to the entirety of the Americas League, showcasing the South American and Latin American part of it. So that's definitely good. Glad to see that. I think it's a cool location. London, I also think is going to be awesome. I'm kind of shocked that there hasn't already been one. London just kind of seems like an obvious choice for a VCT tournament. It's a massive city. It's in Europe. And that's where Fnatic is from. Fun fact, they are a UK organization, at least to my knowledge. So that's definitely cool. I'm going to be trying to go to this one. London is a very cool city. I like it quite a bit, and hopefully going to link up with Commend while we're there. So that'd be really cool. Then, of course, Shanghai. Now, I'm kind of not that chill with them going back to Shanghai so quickly. Back in 2024, they did have Master Shanghai, and it seemed like it was a great city to host one of these tournaments in. If there's one thing that I know for sure is going to happen at this tournament, is there's going to be a lot of cool stuff there. Probably going to be a big spectacle. They'll probably have a lot of cool stuff going on in the city itself, as well as in the tournament. And while Master Shanghai was a good tournament overall, I just feel like it's nice to have more variety with where you're going. So I feel like going back to Shanghai so quickly, not the biggest fan of it, but I'm sure it's going to be a good tournament. It'll be really cool.
Next year, we're taking the VCT to twice as many cities as we did in 2025. The final weekend of each Stage 2 playoffs will be a destination event, with all 4 international leagues bringing the action to new cities in their regions. That means more fans, more energy, and more hype moments all around the world.
And in China, we are going big. VCT CN will take their entire 2026 circuit on the road, visiting 5 new cities throughout the year. It's the most ambitious tour we've ever done in a single region.
So that is really interesting. So the road shows, I love the idea of it. I'm glad they tested it out in the Pacific region for the Stage 2 playoffs, and it seemed to work out well. Going to Tokyo for the last weekend of that playoffs seemed to go really well, so now they're doing it in every single region. Absolutely love that idea. Also like the captions where, again, Ron, it said series instead of cities, so I mean, that's Ron, but he said cities. But yeah, I think that's a great idea. Road shows, I think, are fantastic. I think it's good to break the mold of just doing it in these hub cities. While the hub cities, I think, is the consistent way to make these kind of like in-person events work. I think visiting other cities, giving them these esports events, I think is a great idea, and I think it's going to go really well. So hoping that there's some that are around where I am, because that'd be cool.
Let's also talk about big changes we're bringing to our formats next year. Starting in 2026, every competition in the VCT will feature high-stakes, do-or-die, bracket-style play. That includes kickoff, IL stage competition, and global events.
Okay, so that is really interesting. Now, this is something that I've seen and that, people like Bren have been pushing for. People want more brackets in the VCT, specifically for the regional play. People saying that like the weekly format of the in-region play can kind of get stale by the end of it, and that people don't care as much about the bad teams playing, so they want to make things like more high stakes, more, I guess exciting. But my question to that would be, how exciting are we talking, and how many of these are going to be brackets? They haven't fully revealed how that format's going to work yet. I'm very curious to see how it's going to work in region. Is like every few weeks just going to be like a bracket style play, then you get champs points through that or something like that? Or are we just going to have more like mid-season, mid-stage brackets or something like that, and then have like the weekly round robins? I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But my concern with it is that if everything is high stakes, then nothing is. I do think it's nice to have a lot more high stakes stuff, but personally, I don't mind the weekly round robin stage of the in-region play. I actually think it's kind of fun. It's nice to kind of have like a set schedule of like, all right, this is when these teams are playing, this is when like my favorite team is playing versus like whatever teams. And it kind of just like reminds me of like sitting down and watching like hockey or football or soccer, or like whatever sport that you just sit down during the week and watch. So I didn't really mind it, but a lot of people do overall. But again, my concern is if everything is high stakes, then nothing is high stakes. If everything is like constantly high stakes, then it can kind of like make it not feel as authentic. But again, we will see how that ends up going. I'm very curious to see how they end up making these changes.
Kickoff will run longer and introduce a brand new format, triple elimination. That's right, 3 strikes and you're out. This format will culminate in 3 back-to-back days, where each day will qualify a single team to Masters Santiago.
That is very, very interesting. Now, so we're going to have a triple elimination bracket. Curious to see how that works. And that will be for the last 3 days of kickoff. They said that kickoff is going to be longer this time, which I do think is good. I am glad that they're giving more teams opportunity to do well and to qualify for Masters Santiago than they did in previous years. I personally haven't really been a fan of the kickoff format to start the year. While I do see what they're doing there, it's just kind of annoying to me to wait the entire offseason. There's all these roster changes. There's all these like players on new teams, and then some teams you see just twice and they lose. And the harshness of the overall format can cause a lot of teams to like make roster changes in between like kickoff and stage 1, and that just feels unfair to some of the players. It's just a bit frustrating to wait that long off season and then only get like a few bite-sized pieces of each team. But if they make it longer and triple elimination, then I have less of a problem with it. So I think if they're going to keep kickoff, this is the way to do it. Again, we will see how it goes. Maybe it sucks, but I like that they're trying something new.
Masters 1 is also getting a glow up. This year, we're expanding the field to 12 teams, bringing even more competition to the international stage.
All right, so that's interesting. So we're going from 8 teams at the first Masters of the year to 12 teams, a choice that I do think is overall good. I think I liked the 8-team tournaments. While 8 teams is not that many teams, I overall liked that amount of number. 8 is like a perfect amount of teams for a bracket, and both Madrid and Bangkok were pretty solid tournaments overall that I really liked. 8 is just a really nice number, but overall it is better to have teams have more opportunity to make it to that first Masters of the year, because as I said, it's a very harsh format. There's only 2 spots, then there's only 3 spots, and then there's only 4 spots, gaining more each international tournament, but still, it's just such a small amount. I think it's good to at least make that first Masters 3 teams per region. I think it should work out in a pretty solid way, so we'll see.
Oh, and about champions, there's one more thing.
We told you we want to make the VCT more open, reigniting the dream for aspiring teams and players all over the world. And we will take that first step next year. Starting in 2026, challenger teams will have the opportunity to qualify to the biggest event of the year, Champions.
Okay, so this is the big news. This is the one that everybody was focusing on. The fact that challengers teams can now qualify for champions. They do have to do it through getting through the stage 2 playoffs, which I think is the perfect way to do it if you're going to do this. It does mean that Ascension just isn't happening next year, but that is fine because in 2027, there's going to be basically an entire reset. But allowing these challengers teams to go to the stage 2 playoffs to see how they fare against those in-region teams. While I do foresee some teams and players on other teams being mad that, hey, like, we had to work our way through tier 1 and then there's this tier 2 team coming up that like, in theory should be worse than us, but then you might not have as many VODs on people, or it might, like, be a lot of unexpected things coming. It could kind of be seen as, like, an easier path to get to champions than otherwise, but that's a whole argument for another time. But I do think having them qualify for that Stage 2 playoffs instead of, like, immediately qualifying to champions that being champions, I think that is the perfect way to do it. You see how this Tier 2 talent stacks up against that Tier 1 talent, because some people think that Tier 2 is better than Tier 1. I personally don't agree with that, but that is the thing I've heard. But it gives these players a chance to prove people like me wrong. So I think this is good. Making things more open is definitely a necessity for the VCT. We need more players, more teams being able to qualify for these big international tournaments. We need Tier 2 to be a worth it investment. And because of this change, I do foresee a lot of orgs either coming back to Valorant or entering the esport for the first time altogether, because it might actually be worth your investment this time. Where Tier 2 was basically a huge money sink, this actually makes it a possibility for a pretty good return on investment. So we will see.
As we get ready to transition into the new VCT in 2027, next year we're replacing Ascensions and Visitor slots at international leagues with a path to champions. Challenger teams will join the hunt in Stage 2 for a chance to qualify to champions and claim the title of Valorant World Champion. Making it there will give Challenger teams the glory of Valorant's biggest stage and all the benefits that come with it, including substantial compensation from digital goods.
That's huge. That means that these Tier 2 teams are also going to get money from these digital goods, barring they make it to champions, obviously. But that's good too. Again, we need more financial incentive for these Tier 2 teams and organizations to put their money into it. They can get a good return on investment with these compensation from financial goods, as well as just all the stuff that'll come from making it champions. That'll be good. And I do hope some Tier 2 teams end up making it to champions in every single region. Honestly, I think that'd be really cool. So we'll see how this goes. But again, make Tier 2 more worth it for teams. I don't think we necessarily need like every esports organization to be like having a team in Valorant. I do think some people focus too much on the negatives of organizations leaving the esport altogether. It's really hard to maintain a financially stable esports team in any esports. So I don't really see it as like a bunch of Tier 2 organizations leaving the game altogether as like that bad of a thing. I think it's mainly just like we need players playing the game, players competing in Tier 2, and then hopefully orgs pick up those players as we go. But again, this is a very good thing, making it more open. Glad to see this change.
More events in new locations, high-stake tournament formats, more teams at Masters, and a new path to champions.
VCT 2026 is going to be unforgettable, and we can't wait to experience it with you.
Thanks, everyone.
See ya.
All right, so that's all that there is to talk about for that video. I could do like a deeper dive, but I'm not going to do that today. But overall, I think this format change is very good for the game. You're making it more open. You're making Tier 2 more worth it to be in. Roadshows is a fantastic idea. You can go to a lot more locations now. You can grow the game in these other cities, adding more local fans into it and creating cool events around it. I think that is a perfect idea. And for the international events, some pretty solid selections for cities. While I did talk about me not liking that they're going back to Shanghai so quickly, but still, it should be a great tournament overall. And Santiago is great, and London's a great location for this as well. So overall, listen, they cooked with this format so far. We will see what ends up staying for 2027. I'm glad they're testing things out in 2026 so that they can make proper adjustments if something doesn't work. But overall, making it more open, I do question how Ascension is going to work in 2027, if Ascension even stays around, because we're not doing it next year, but these teams are going to have a chance to actually make it to champions. So yeah, definitely like what I'm seeing overall. What I would love to see is after 2027, we stop with the format changes. I think one problem that people do have with the format overall that they might not realize is the fact that it's inconsistent. People complain about the format every single year, and then they make changes and they complain about those changes as well. And I understand that, and the VCT is not perfect and did need to be more open. It did need massive change, and Riot is doing that. But I think part of the problem is that nobody knows what to expect from one year to the next. So hopefully whatever ends up being in 2027 is what we stick with. There will be negatives to whatever format we end up doing. You can't fix every problem, but I'm glad that they are trying to fix the biggest issue, which is how open the VCT is. Anyways, that's all for me today. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think of this new format? Do you think it's good for the game? Do you think it's going to end up being bad for the game? Is making it more open actually going to end up being a bad thing? Let me know all that and more in the comment section down below. Please click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.